Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
I don't even know how old I was, but I definitely remember when Terrence Cody blocked the field goal. I don't know how old I was, but I'm sure that was a big win for the team back then.
Being from Iowa, was kind of a spectator a little bit, but I do remember, like Sean said earlier, that Terrence Cody block. I mean, they played a lot in the locker room or whatever, and they got pictures of it everywhere. So I think, that's a pretty big moment for this Alabama-Tennessee rivalry, and I think a lot of people remember that moment especially.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Tonight, once again, Pepsi Max, Max Taste, Zero Sugar. That's a pretty good combination. I like it. And it certainly is refreshing going down. Remember to pick up some great Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. Well, it is Tennessee week, and with that, Rodney, a lot of memories of the Terrence Cody blocked field goal in 2009, among others. Nick Saban was a happy camper after that block on that day. It kept the Tide's perfect season alive. But in spite of his team's 49-30 win in Fayetteville last weekend, Coach Saban was not so pleased with the Tide's performance in that one.
I don't know if anybody noticed, but I wasn't the happiest camper, in the second half or after the game, for that matter, because we weren't in control of the game and we didn't control the game.
All right, let's discuss it. 49-30, a 19-point win. The first half, Alabama's offense was absolutely unstoppable. They did what everyone they wanted to do, run it, throw it. Couldn't be slowed down. Second half, quite honestly, didn't have the ball much. 15 plays. Alabama's defense scored 2 more touchdowns on a fumble return and a 100-yard interception return by Mika Fitzpatrick. But it was a unique game in the sense that because Arkansas had the ball in the second half, almost the entire second half, Alabama made plays, but Arkansas made plays. 400 yards passing for Austin Allen. While the secondary shined at times with all the interceptions, they gave up plays too. Oftentimes didn't seem to judge the ball well in the air, had a couple busting coverages. So, it was a good win. I don't want to take anything away from the win, but Alabama defensively, it was kind of a mixed bag.
It really was. And again, they did a good job shutting down the Arkansas run, which is kind of Arkansas's forte. We told you last week, very high on Austin Allen, the quarterback, and the receivers for Arkansas. They did an outstanding job in this game. And again, Gary, it's like you said, there were times, I guess the frustrating thing from an Alabama perspective would be there were times when the secondary was in position to make the plays and just didn't make them. And I think that was a little bit discouraging. Again, not playing the ball well, maybe when it's in the air. So those are things that they're going to have to get ironed out as we move forward.
As I said on offense in that first half, it was, best case scenario for Alabama. They ran it, threw it, rung up first downs, rung up points. Again, hard to get a feel for what happened in the second half. They just didn't have the ball, but a couple of turnovers, which is cause for concern. Josh Jacobs lost a fumble down on the goal line. Then in the third quarter, Ardarius Stewart, after a great catch and run, fumbled it deep in Arkansas territory. So there's always room for improvement on any side of the ball.
Yeah.
For offense, they need to hold on that ball.
Yeah, definitely do. You certainly can't turn the ball over, and you look at some of those plays, Gary, cost points. I mean, when you're talking about Josh Jacobs fumbled on the first series. You're talking about Ardarius Stewart was down inside the 10-yard line. Now, a ball that wasn't turned over was when Damian Harris fumbled inside the 10.
They got on
very close to it. Fortunately, Alabama got it back. Now, when you look at that, though, there's a lot of positives on the offensive side. We thought that Alabama could run the ball. We talked about that last week. I really thought Alabama could be successful running the ball on Arkansas, and they were. I mean, from the get-go. You had 2 50-plus yards runs in the first 7 minutes of the game. So, you're seeing the running game starting to develop. Those running backs, Damian Harris had a nice game, over 100 yards again. Josh Jacobs, before he was on his way to having a nice game. Bo Scarborough, I thought that was his best game in terms of running the ball. He seemed to run it with more confidence. He protected the ball. So I think really what we're seeing with the development of the Alabama running game is, something that's very, very positive as we start moving forward. You're not really necessarily putting it all on a freshman quarterback, but with that said, he did an outstanding job. 13 of 17, 262 yards, a couple of touchdowns, only turned the ball over once, but that was on a play when he was hit. as he was throwing it. So I think we're starting to see Jalen Hurts continue to gain confidence as a passer.
Well, speaking of moving forward, Arkansas is in the past, so let's talk about the game this Saturday. At ninth-ranked Tennessee, the Vols are coming off their first loss of the season. In double overtime at Texas A&M, Tennessee staged another furious comeback before ultimately losing. Their fifth this time in the season, coming back for their fifth time that they came back from a double-digit deficit. So Alabama, obviously, Rodney, is aware of Tennessee's never-say-die attitude.
This is probably going to be the game. We're going to have to play that complete game, offense, defense, special teams, because they could come back on and make a play on any one of those teams. So it's on us to really just execute, do our jobs, and make plays.
They're a very good second-half team. They never give up. So we know that at the beginning of the game we got to come out strong and finish the entire game.
Can't come out slow against them, and you can't kind of like lay down by the wayside of the games at the end of the game, because I mean they showed that they can come back in the third, fourth quarter. I mean they get better as the game goes on.
Yeah, this Tennessee team a couple times this year like they were buried, and they came back and won the game and almost won the game against Texas A&M. A good, talented team. They've been building for this. Now they're banged up. They got a lot of injuries. Dismissed their starting defensive tackle this week from the team. But they're also at home. They're going to be energized. They've lost 9 in a row to Alabama. This is not going to be easy for the Tide.
You know, Gary, when you look at this game, you look at this Tennessee team over the last few weeks, you know, the Florida game was a very emotional game for them. They broke that long losing streak, 11-game losing streak. And you mentioned they had to come from behind double digits. Then they come back miraculously against Georgia. When Georgia scores with 10 seconds left, looks like the game's over, and they win in that emotional fashion there late in the game. And then this game here, they go in a double overtime against Texas A&M on the road, have 7 turnovers and 700 nearly yards of offense, and you know they still do not win the game in double overtime. So you wonder, you know, you talk about all the injuries they have physically, you wonder where they are emotionally. But with Alabama coming to town, certainly this is a game that they'll be able to get themselves ready for.
Well, one thing, they've been a turnover machine.
Absolutely.
Talk about fumbles. They had 21 of them. They had 6 against A&M, lost 5 of them, a couple of interceptions as well. That's an area that they've got to shore up because Alabama's the most opportunistic defense in the country.
Yeah, and you know, Jalen Hurd, their number one back, did not play. Alvin Kamara, the former Alabama player, did an outstanding job there. He's been kind of alternating with Hurd the last couple of years. And so, you know, you wonder, will Hurd play? The word up there is that he will, but there's speculation that maybe he won't.
We'll see. All right, still to come on Tider Insider Television. Butch Jones compares this Alabama defense to other ones that he's faced. Plus, Avery Johnson and the men's basketball team picked up a trio of recruits last week. We'll break them down coming up next. And we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information on your screen, as always, that you can get to us. 205-348 9882 is the number. Just give us a call right here, and we will get you on the air. We'll be back after this.
I think since the day that I came in here, that nobody really was scared of Alabama or thought that we weren't as good. We've got a lot of pride in ourselves.
I think a lot of times people get intimidated by certain teams, and for us it's just another nameless, faceless opponent. And we got to come in, prepare, and we got to go out and play and execute, just like any other game.
Tennessee players saying the right things. Welcome back to TITV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Tennessee says they're not intimidated by the number 1 team in the country. Butch Jones has a lot of respect for Alabama, but you know what? You have to go out there and compete. But this Alabama defense, he knows, is one of the best.
12th in the country in total defense, number 1 in fewest yards rushing. I think this is the best Alabama team we've faced since we've been here. It's the best secondary in terms of where we concern ourselves of any Alabama team we've faced since we've been here. And they've all been very, very talented, and not to take away anything from those teams, but a lot of respect for Coach Saban, a lot of respect for what's going on there. They're disciplined. They bring it every game.
Bama does bring it every game. Speaking of bringing it, Rodney, Alabama basketball recruiting Avery Johnson had been saying that, they're going to get it going here recruiting. Well, last week it happened. Alabama received 3 commitments in 2 days, Thursday and Friday. Alex Reese, a power forward out of Pelham. Herb Jones, a shooting guard from just down the road in Hale County in Moundville. And an out-of-state product, 6'10", Galen Smith, the center from Clinton, Mississippi. Rodney, let's take a little video of these guys, and we'll talk about them briefly. Alex Reese is a guy from Pelham High School, 6'9", about 225, can shoot the 3. He's very athletic. Some people question his willingness to bang inside, but anytime you can find a 6'9" guy that can shoot and handle, that's a big pickup.
Yeah, I've heard about that, Gary, if there was a criticism, but, he's obviously an outstanding player, and he brings the size that Alabama needs and the athletic ability, and again, I think all the mindset can be developed.
I'm excited about Herb Jones. For one thing, he's a local product just down the road at Hale County High School. Before that, played at Sunshine before it closed. Now, you're talking about a kid about 6'7", long arms, can block shots, can handle, can shoot the 3, can create his own shot off the dribble, very good defender with those long arms. And, he just down the road, so this is home for him, and that's always special.
When you look at him, Gary, he resembles some of those guys physically, like Wimp used to.
Yeah,
recruit.
maybe Keith Askins a little bit. Long-armed and really a good prospect. And then Alabama's had great success in the state of Mississippi through the years, and the second-rate prospect in the Magnolia State is 6'10", Galen Smith, about 220 pounds. Now, he's only been playing basketball since he was 14, so his best ball is still in front of him, but this kind of size, every coach covets.
Well, you look at him there, you can tell physically, Gary, when you look at his development, how he's got the body to get bigger and stronger. That size, again, that's something that Alabama can really use.
So a good week, and Alabama's still hoping to get commitments from a couple more guys and get them all signed up in November. Well, coming up next, an update on the Alabama soccer team, already 14 games into the schedule. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information there on your screen on how you can get in touch with us. Go ahead and give us a call, email us, or you can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return after this timeout. The Bama soccer team lost its 3rd straight match on Sunday at Mizzou, 2-0. 3 days before that, Ole Miss beat the Tide in Tuscaloosa 2-1. Alabama now 7-6-1 on the season, 2-4-1 in the SEC. And welcome back to Tider Insider TV. I'm Gary Harris. He's Rodney Orr. And right now we're going to talk to some of you. Let's go to the phone lines. And first up tonight is Carl in Gadsden. Carl, welcome into the program. Carl, go ahead. Carl, are you with us? All right, Carl wants to know about
Najee Harris.
The Najee Harris commitment, is it sound, and also some of those secondary issues Alabama's dealing with, Rodney?
Yeah, again, Carl, Najee Harris, the great running back out of California, he's considered the #1 player in the country by many, and he is committed, been committed to Alabama for a while. There are other schools that are going to continue to recruit him, and anytime you're talking about a player of that magnitude, it's really hard to predict what he might do. I think the indications are that he's solid to Alabama, but again, I think that it's worth keeping an eye on because Michigan, for example, is recruiting him extremely hard, and you just never really know in a situation like this what might happen.
And we talked about the secondary earlier. It's not a case like these guys can't cover people. It's just sometimes when the ball's in the air, they don't seem to be making a play.
Yeah, and we've seen that before. You remember a couple of years ago in 2014 when they had all those issues playing the ball in the air, and it seems like those kind of things are popping up again.
All right, let's go to Anniston, just down the road from Gadsden, and talk to Harold. Harold, hopefully you're on the line. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had seen some things about that Najee Harris thing too, but I just want to ask you guys. Right now, they got us ranked second for the 17 in recruiting. Do y'all think we'll be able to pull the #1 and hold on to what we got?
Well, Harold, I tell you what, Ohio State's doing a fantastic job of recruiting, and Gary, agree with me here. Urban Meyer is not only a fantastic recruiter, but he's a tremendous talent evaluator as well. So, they're certainly a team that right now I think most of these recruiting services have #1. I think Alabama's got a shot at it. I certainly do. Gary, but, we'll have to see how it all unfolds. We still have a few months left, but I think Alabama definitely has a shot at it.
Yeah, they do, but you're right about Urban Meyer. It's very similar to Alabama, the way he runs his program, and recruiting is, boy, they're good up there getting it done. All right, let's go over to Coker and talk to Leroy. Leroy, welcome into the show. How are you? Leroy, you with us? All right, we're losing callers tonight. All right, he wants to know, again, a secondary deal. Marlon Humphrey, very talented corner out of Hoover High School, son of the legendary Alabama running back Bobby Humphrey, but he's had you know, he's had some problems.
Well, I think, Gary, he's been in position on a lot of those plays. It's just he hasn't found the ball a few times and hasn't made the plays on the ball like he has in the past on some of those. You saw the other night where he had a pass interference called against him where he really wasn't in, didn't seem to be in bad position from our vantage point, but he just couldn't get to the ball and interfered. And then on the deep ball late in the game that allowed Arkansas to set up for a touchdown, it didn't seem like he ever got his head around when the ball was in the air, but he was stride for stride with the receiver, and not really sure what happened, if the receiver pushed him off or whatever. But again, I think he's not in bad position necessarily. It's just playing the ball. And just a redshirt sophomore, so he's got time to improve. All right, coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, give us a call, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. You can email us at that address or reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with more right after this. And welcome back to Tider Insider TV. Let's get right back to the phone lines. Let's go over to Birmingham and talk to Keith. Keith, welcome into the program.
Yes. Appreciate the call, taking my call here.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment. It just goes to show that, they keep talking about this Tom Herman, how great of a coach he is. In my opinion, he's overrated. He just lost the Navy. But, it just goes to show how powerful Alabama is. He became a top name just because he was the offense coordinator at Ohio State.
Yeah, you make a good point, Keith. His performance as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State in that Sugar Bowl against Alabama no doubt elevated his status. Now, I'm not going to agree with you 100%. I think he's a fantastic coach. And going to Navy and losing against that attack with that triple option, there's no shame in that. Navy's a good football team. What he's done at Houston, I know why he's on a lot of radars. So, Alabama's got the best coach in the country, Nick Saban, but Tom Herman's a fine football coach.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit premature to say that he's not a really good coach. And I think this too, Gary. I think sometimes, you get these coaches and they lose a game, and all of a sudden, one game, people want to say, well, they're overrated. And that's not necessarily the case. But on the flip side of that, I think he still has some proving to do. I think, I'm not ready to say necessarily that he's going to be an elite coach, but he's certainly getting a lot of recognition as potentially one of the up-and-coming coaches.
Well, you're right. The win in the Sugar Bowl over Alabama in the college football playoff when he was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State elevated his status, Keith, no doubt about it. Let's go to Walker County and talk to Sammy. Sammy, how are you?
Thanks, Gary. You and Rodney, appreciate taking the call.
Sure.
Great job. My comment is I think Tony Brown in that secondary, I know he's been in the doghouse, but he needs to step up, put on those big boy shoes, and help us out because he's got the ability. Y'all have to admit that.
No doubt he's got the ability, Sammy. He's a gifted athlete. He's a really terrific player on special teams, despite the ball going through his legs in the last home game. But he's a guy that's going to help him some. I mean, he's a physical guy back there, and I think more and more into the season, you're going to see him back there in the secondary as well.
Yeah. He's really versatile. Obviously, you look at Tony Brown. There's no question about his physical ability, Gary, and he's a really thick kid. He's well built. He's strong. He started a few games as a true freshman a couple of years ago at corner. So, his versatility. You remember last year when Minka Fitzpatrick went down in the Mississippi State game, Tony came in and made a couple of really big plays, almost had a couple of big picks. So, there's no doubt. The caller's right. He is a very gifted player and certainly brings some versatility and some depth to the secondary.
All right, let's go quickly to Bessemer and talk to our buddy John. John, what's up?
Gary, what's going on, man?
You know it.
Hey, man, do y'all think we got a chance to beat Tennessee this year?
John, I think they got a good chance. I do. In fact, we'll have our predictions coming up a little bit later on, so I don't want to ruin that. But I think Bama will have a shot.
They may have two shots.
Make it play them again in Atlanta. You never know. But we will have our predictions coming up later on in the program. And we'll come back with more TITV right after this on a beautiful evening in Tuscaloosa. I mean, it's gorgeous. Keep it tuned right here. We're back after this. Well, Dak Prescott continues to exceed expectations as a rookie quarterback for the Cowboys. He has the Cowboys in position to make a playoff run at 4-1, and he hasn't thrown an interception this season. Now, he did take a big hit in Dallas's win over Cincinnati on Sunday, but listen to what he had to say about taking big hits. When you play in the SEC and you face the Tide, well, you're used to it.
I mean, I don't know. I played against Alabama. I played in the SEC, so I took some licks. I think he took it a little lightly on me, too, so it looked worse than it was.
And real quickly before I make our picks, remember we sat in the press box and I told you, I said, this guy's a player. To take the beating he took here here and in start for the last couple of years of that Alabama defense and to keep on coming the way he did, I was shocked he went in the 4th round that late. Not shocked that he's lighting it up for the Cowboys.
Would they sack him 10 times last year?
Yeah,
Alabama.
He just kept on coming. All right, Rodney, how do you see it, Tennessee and Alabama?
Well, Gary, you know, when I look at this game, first of all, you go up to Neyland Stadium, it's always a scary game going up there, especially with a freshman quarterback like Jalen Hurts, but he's kind of proven himself in 2 road games, so I think he'll be fine. I think this is a line of scrimmage game, and Alabama's clearly the better team on both sides. You know, Tennessee's beat up a little bit. They're missing some players. I'm not selling them short. I know that Tennessee will come out and play their best game. I don't have any question about that, but I think Alabama can run the ball. I think they can move the ball. I think they can score some points, and I think they're going to win the game.
And you've got it 37-24. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'm kind of on the same page with you, Rodney. I do think Butch Jones has done a good job. I mean, I think he has gotten the talent level at Tennessee to a point where they can compete with Alabama. We saw that last year. And the way they've won games this year shows you that they've got a lot of stick-to-itiveness, that they're a tough-minded football team. They never give up. And they won't give up on Saturday night. But they also are banged, bruised, and battered. Alabama, even with Reuben Foster dealing with a concussion, possibly the same thing with Shake Taylor. Alabama's a lot better off health-wise. And Tennessee's got some good football players, but like I said last week, I still think Alabama has more good football players than Tennessee, just like they had more than Arkansas did. So whether it's in Knoxville or it's in Tuscaloosa, I don't think the venue matters. It's going to be 10 in a row. Alabama's going to win this football game. I've got it similar, Rodney, 34-21. I like the Tide to get it done. It's not going to be easy, but I think Alabama will find a way to win 10 in a row and light those cigars up
there you go.
at Neyland Stadium on Saturday evening.
About 15 years ago.
Yeah, Tennessee had their number for a while. All right, that's going to do it for the program. Before we go, though, our beautiful shirts tonight provided, as always, by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original Elephant Wear. Go by and see Alex Gatewood and his courteous staff, or you can shop online at locker-room.biz. I'm telling you, they got a fall collection that is incredible. Women's clothing, too. So don't forget when you're in town to go by and see them at the Locker Room. Also, if you missed the program or you tuned in late, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 following the news at 10, or you can find it anytime online at WVUA23.com. Alabama and Tennessee on Saturday afternoon. Crimson Tide kickoff Saturday morning at 11. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.